It's good to welcome Hank Jr. of Hank Jr. Productions on this podcast. He works in photography and videography, and he's based in Tampa Bay, Florida. And he also has a podcast called Hank's Corner, where he interviews up-and-coming musicians. Hank Jr., welcome to the show. How are you?
Great, I'm doing great. I appreciate you inviting me to the show. It's interesting to be on this side of the format.
Yeah. Yeah. I must imagine that you've been doing this for quite a while now, the podcast. I mean,
Yeah, I actually started it about I want to say about 3 years ago, and I'm about 160 episodes in. So, like I said, this is the first time where I get to be interviewed, so I'm definitely excited about this
oh, really? This is your first podcast as an interviewee.
as an interviewee. That's correct.
Okay. Well, hope I don't disappoint then.
I don't think you will.
Yeah. I believe I got to know you through a mutual friend, Francesca Tarantino, Florida-based, I believe Orlando-based musician, whom you've had a chance to interview. So, yeah, tell me how'd you know her?
Yeah, so fortunately, being in Florida, I think that's kind of how I was able to come across Francesca's social media. Is like you said, she's out in the Orlando area, which is about an hour and a half, depending on traffic, away from the Tampa Bay area. And we followed each other for a while, and fortunately, a few months back, I was able to come out to one of the events that she was at, and we finally got to meet in person. And she is such a great and talented musician, only a teenager, and doing really well, has a great following. So I was very happy to be able to meet her and her family in person.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I got to meet her through the podcast, but I haven't had a chance to meet her in person yet. So, hope to do so at some point.
Yeah, definitely a fun person to be around, that's for sure.
Certainly. Yeah. For those who are watching us on video, you have a collage of performers. I'm assuming most of them are females. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so I do got a bunch of pictures behind me. Some of them are female, some of them are males. I definitely, do my best with my photography to assist music artists, and a lot of times free photography, because I know that they're struggling to, do their budget. So, behind me, I have everywhere that I've been a part of, from, Kirsty Krause. I got big names up here like Toby Mac and Lauren Daigle, some of the big Christian music people behind me. And I hope that the wall just continues to grow the more I get to, photo some of these artists out there on stage or for their cover arts.
All right. So have you had a chance to photograph Francesca?
So I have gotten to at the last event that we were at. She was up on stage, and I did get to get some photos there. But we're looking to hopefully collaborate on more of a one-on-one basis, because she was up there with, it's kind of like a songwriters round where they have 3 to 4 people up there at a time. But hopefully, I get to work with her on a more, personal level, whether it's, a performance or maybe something related to cover art.
I see. Okay. So does the photograph come before the podcast or vice versa? Vice versa?
They're actually kind of different in itself. So, the podcast, as you and I are doing right now, is we could be anywhere in the world and be able to put this together via the internet. The pictures, obviously, I have to be there. So, if they're not in the Tampa Bay area, I got to come to them, whether it's in Nashville or wherever it may be, to see them perform.
I see. But I mean, it's like chronologically, did you start doing the photographs before the podcast, or did you start the podcast before the photographs?
Oh, actually starting. No, I was actually doing photography for many years before the podcast, mostly weddings, mostly family photography. And then just started getting an opportunity to work with musicians and started doing that. Got to get out into some events, including Freedom Jam out in St. Louis, Missouri. And while I was there, I noticed that were a couple of tents lined up with podcasts, and they were interviewing the artists. And I said something like to myself, "Hey, I would love to do that. I would love to get the chance to sit down." and talk with people and hear some of the behind the scenes stories. And, from there, that's when that idea came out. And I started doing podcasting shortly after that.
Wonderful. Yeah. So do you do most of the podcasts in person or, via Zoom, like what we're doing right now?
Most of them are done online because they're just all over. I mean, I've interviewed people, in the Tampa Bay area, in the United States, Nashville a lot, but I've talked to people that are in the UK, Australia, Canada. So it's definitely difficult to do that. I will try to do some podcast in person. It's just a little sometimes difficult, but a lot of times I'll go to certain events like where you saw with me and Francesca, and I'll do some mini interviews and I'll just talk to the artists that are there and get a little bit and hope they come back for a full blown podcast.
Wonderful. Yeah. So does your name based on Hank Williams Jr. or is it like your real name?
Yeah, so I get that a lot, and sometimes it's good for advertising if they're searching for Hank Williams Jr. and come up with me. So I love that. But my given name is Henry. I'm a Henry Jr. and my dad is Henry Sr. So Hank being short for that. And in my full time outside job that I don't do this, we both did the same thing, and we kind of joke because Hank Williams Jr. has a song called Family Tradition,
Mhm.
and I was carrying on my family tradition. And so the photography and stuff is completely different, but I brought that idea, Hank Jr., Hank being the nickname, over to that and just called it Hank Jr. Productions.
I see. So you pick up the craft of photography from your dad then?
No, that's why I
Okay.
said the photography and stuff. That was something separate that I did. My main job that I
Okay.
do during the day is something that I followed in his footsteps to do. But I carried over the Hank Jr. Idea because I just like the name, Hank
I see.
Jr. Productions. I thought it was great, and it does. I mean, he dabbled in it. He did a little bit of video stuff, and he tried to do a Hank Senior version, but he just barely touched it. So
I see.
I carried on in my own way.
Got it. So what does your dad do?
So he's retired, but we were both in federal law enforcement. That's what I do, as my main thing, and this stuff is just kind of a way to get back. My regular photography and video. I'm probably the lowest cost one out there because I don't need this to support myself, and that's why was a good fit with a lot of the musicians being out there and basically sometimes offering it as for no cost at all, just to help with them with exposure. So it's kind of a way to give back, but it's also more to get back to for those who just can't afford regular photography and videography. I mean, people need to that's their full-time jobs, and so they need to make a career out of it, or I don't, so I can come in and charge a lot less for those who just can't afford traditional prices.
I see. So are you a native of Tampa Bay, Florida?
No, actually, I'm not. I am Texas born, Texas bred. Did get out of the Texas area for a little bit, but made my way back. Most of my years spent in Texas, but this was a great place for retirement. I haven't retired yet, but we wanted to make sure we were over here, so I was able to transfer over to Florida. So I've been in the Tampa Bay area now 6 years, and it has just grown leaps and bounds, especially since the 2020 era there, where there's a lot going on and a lot of people just kind of preferred the Florida lifestyle after that. So we were here before that, but we're seeing everybody else come and join us as well.
Yeah. Must imagine the weather is pretty great down there.
It depends if you like the heat. So I can only take the heat for so many months of the year. I definitely prefer a little bit milder, but yeah, definitely you can be outdoors all year round. We got a lot of outdoor sports, and we get to take advantage of that while a lot of people are snowed in and kind of miserable up in the north.
Yeah, yeah, yes, I do. Yeah, Francesca told me that she moved to Florida from Philadelphia, so I heard that it can be pretty cold there.
Oh, and then that's kind of news to me because my family from my dad's side is from the Philadelphia area, so I didn't know that we had that connection.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Well, next time you meet her, you should ask her about it. Yeah. So which part of Texas were you from?
So mostly the Corpus Christi area. For those that don't know, it's right there along the the curve, halfway between Houston, halfway between Mexico there, and it's a small little community, or I guess just say small city, big town. It's definitely got its advantages if you're a fisher or a hunter, but definitely a small town atmosphere.
Mhm. So do you go back there from time to time?
I have not. Unfortunately, I've only had to go back, to the area for some, I hate to say, but funerals that I had to go back for. But we haven't actually been back to visit just for fun. We found that most people love coming to Florida to come see us, more to do out here, and that was one of the reasons why we initially moved to the Florida area.
Oh yeah, it's a good place to visit.
Definitely.
Mhm. So tell me about the music scene where you live.
So the Tampa Bay music scene is really interesting because it's really got a wide variety of different genres that play here. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I kind of deal with are more so towards the Nashville style, the country, the Christian music. But we definitely have a bunch of everything else, including R&B, rock, and even some jazz festivals pop up here and there. But it's definitely happening. You can go out pretty much. Every weekend and to a different spot and find, people playing at different venues, whether it's as small as a bar or as big as the arenas that are around here.
Mhm. Yeah. What's the big arena?
So we have one actually in Tampa, the Amalie Arena, that the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team plays at. So a lot of concerts are kind of there, but we have one just outside of Tampa. I forget the name of it. I think it's something like. Well, it's a sponsor who owns the amphitheater, but it's one of those big amphitheaters where you got part of it that you're seating under a roof, and then the rest of it you're out there on the grass, which is pretty cool under the sky, depending on the temperature.
Yeah, that's great. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, and I happen to know that the WWE Performance Center is either situated in the Tampa Bay area or Orlando. So you have to clear that up for me.
I'm not too familiar with that. I actually haven't followed wrestling in a very long time, so I'm not sure where the actual center is. I haven't heard that it's in Tampa, so maybe it's in Orlando.
Yeah, it's most likely the latter. And yeah, since you mentioned Christian music, I'm a Catholic, and I happen to know that the first Jesuits from I guess Spain and Portugal, when they landed in what is now known as the United States in the 16th, 17th century, they landed in Florida first.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of history here in Florida. That comes from the time that the initial settlers came over. Uh, there's a couple of cities, but I think St. Augustine,
Mhm.
which is on the east coast of Florida, tends to claim that they are the oldest city in the
Mhm.
country. Others will, dispute the claim and claim they are, but I believe it's going to be St. Augustine, and that's from that time period that you're talking about.
Yeah, certainly. So how did you get into photography?
So the reason I got into photography was, many years ago when my children were little. Kind of the same reason why I continue to do it for other people is I didn't like to have to pay all that money for pictures. I remember one time we went out to, back in my day when I'm younger, or I mean I'm a little bit older. You're a little younger than me, and we actually had to go to like a J.C. Penney's type studio or whatever. And I remember paying like almost $200 for like 10 photos. And I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. So, I invested in a Canon camera. At that time, it was a TI Rebel, and I just started taking pictures from there and said, "Hey, this is how I'm going to document life's moments," and that's became my tagline. But I was going to do it myself, and then I found it a lot cheaper to do it that way. And then, of course, you do have to grow the craft if you want to do it professional looking and all that, not just snapping a button. But yeah, it all came because I didn't want to have to pay extra money for somebody else to do it for me.
Really? Yeah. Yeah, since you mentioned that, I know that, I'm from Vietnam and we have like certain tourist spots and there are people who have cameras there and they are photographers, but they're not legit photographers. They would photograph like unsuspecting tourists and then they would force the tourists to pay money for them despite, the tourists not knowing or not agreeing to the
Hmm.
photography. I think our family had that and yeah, fell for that like once or twice. So that yeah, that's a interesting tale. Uh,
Yeah, they do the same thing. I was just in New York
oh,
not
really?
too long ago, and they try to do the same thing where they try to, get that. And I'll give it to them that they're hustling and trying. But to me, it's tough enough being a legit photographer with cell phones and the cameras that come along with that. I can't see how any street photographers would actually make some money, but I'm guessing that they might.
Mhm. Yeah, so how would a professionally taken photograph be different from, say, something that you take from, your cell phone?
Yeah, so I mean, the cell phones are getting great. I mean, both the iPhone and the Samsung, or I guess even the Google phones, are doing really well with a lot of the stuff that they can do. The pictures that they're getting more and more larger as far as the megapixels are concerned. They're having all these nice little apps that can remove things that are in the background that you don't want. But what it still lacks is the ability to take photos in certain lighting conditions and make them clear. And that's one things that regular cameras can do with their lenses. They definitely can do photos in low light, but just in general, the difference, between a professional, photographer, they know the lighting situation and they know how to make that adjustment, to where it works out. People will snap a photo, and for instance, I do a lot of beach weddings, and you have that big bright sun in the background, and you take a photo of somebody and they're dark, and you got to be able to make that adjustment, whether through, different lighting or different lenses, or HDR, to be able to make that photo actually look like it's professional, not a cell phone. But as time goes by, more and more apps, more and more programs are allowing you to edit and do that. So I'm not sure how much time I have left as a professional photographer, but for right now, it seems to be okay.
Okay. Well, I hope it remains that way for a long time then.
I hope so too.
So what cameras do you use?
So I'm mostly a Canon guy when it comes to the actual photography. I mean, I still have a Rebel as a my backup camera, but I use a 6D Mark II, and I have not gone mirrorless yet, and that's more so because um, I just haven't invested in the money. But everybody tells me how great mirrorless is, and one of the advantages is you don't hear the click, so you could be doing weddings and taking hundreds of pictures, and nobody knows that you're doing. You're not interfering with the ceremony at all. But I just haven't invested in that. And then as far as my video stuff, I do a lot of stuff with Panasonic cameras.
All right. So digital or film?
I do digital. I have not gone back to the film. I know that seems to be a little bit of a craze these days, but kind of growing up on it, I used it for so many years, and had to take it to the store and wait for it. And I know it's probably faster now to get it developed, but I'm like, yeah, I just prefer the digital, and you can see it right then and there, and your clients can see it right then and there as well, and you can start making any adjustments that you might need. But some people like that nostalgic, just like I like vinyl records, and want that film to be done as opposed to digital.
Excellent. Yeah. I had some experience with the Pentax film camera uh,
Hmm.
when I was doing a college class back in my days doing college in Canada, actually. It was I came up with this rather interesting project. So we have like one reel of film with like 10 pictures or such, and I used a camera to photograph a picture for a certain project. And my idea was that I would photograph each door that I come across in my day. So, somehow that reached 10. So, that's really good. So even
Yeah, and
the door. the entrance to my house, the entrance to my room, the door of the campus, and the door of, say, the bathroom, something like that. So,
Yeah, and did you do developing in that class?
I did not. We sent the film reel to another development facility somewhere in, I guess, Niagara Falls.
Mm. Yeah, because that's one thing I have not done yet. My wife said that she did it as one of her photography classes, and I like to give that a shot just to see how it is. But that would be the extent of film that I would like to use.
Mhm. Yes, and I remember having to carry the light meter around just so that the picture would be sufficiently exposed, so to speak.
Yeah.
You mentioned doing law enforcement. Does that mean that you're a policeman?
I do work in law enforcement during the day, and that it is not it's not a police like as in local. It is federal. That's about as much as I can say on that. But
Okay.
any type of federal law enforcement that you might see on the TV or something like that is something that I've gotten into over the years. I've reached my I'm going to be reaching my 20-year anniversary this year, and I'll be eligible to retire in a couple years. We'll see how long I hold on, but for right now, I'll continue to do that. But one day, I'm gonna take advantage of traveling and do photography full time.
Certainly. And I suppose thank you for your service.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me about your musical upbringing.
Yeah, so when I grew up in Texas, as one would imagine, there's definitely a lot of country music that comes around. So I definitely got exposed to that. But what people don't know too is that Texas is so expansive, and because of that, it's so diverse. So I was listening to even Spanish music like the Tejano, the Mexicano music,
Hmm.
that sort of thing, and then even during my teenage years, growing up in the late 80s there, we had all the metal bands and all the hair bands. So I got into that, but as well as R&B and hip hop. And I was pretty much exposed to everything, and I could always find, at least some good music in every genre. And I found that in some ways kind of hurt me as a kid, because I would have people that listen to country music and say, well, why are you listening to that rap stuff? And people that listen to rap say, well, why are you listening to that country stuff? And sometimes it was kind of really difficult to fit in because of that, even though I thought I was more inclusive. But I definitely got to listen to all kinds, and still to this day that I'll be all over the map.
All right. Yeah, I know that the city of Austin, as well as the South by Southwest Festival, it
Mhm.
features a diverse array of music and
Yeah,
musicians.
Austin is probably going to be your most diverse city in the state of Texas, and they definitely have some great festivals that go on. But if you get to any of the other metroplexes, the Dallas Fort Worth or Houston, you may not have like specific concerts that are diverse, but you have a lot of diverse things because the city's so big.
All right. Yeah. I'm reminded of this movie that I watch. I don't know if you're a big fan of movies. It's called Song to Song. It's directed by the great Terrence Malick. I think he's a native of Texas. At least he lived in Waco for some time. But he's one of my favorite filmmakers. It's about music in Texas and it's set in the city of Austin. And it has a really good cast. I think Ryan Gosling and Natalie Portman is in there, as well as
Okay.
Michael Fassbender and Rooney Mara. It's a rather abstract movie, so it's a worth recommending for the subject matter as well as the style.
Yeah, I definitely would have to check that out.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing you still remain a fan of country music then.
Yeah, definitely, country music is probably, towards the top of my list. And, part of that is just because country music is known for telling stories. I mean, obviously you have your fun songs or whatever, but in general, country music is known for doing that. And that's just part of who I am. I like to tell stories. I like to be a part of stories. And country music just kind of fits right in there to do that.
Yeah. I know quite a few country musicians from Canada. based on doing this. They mostly settle in Ontario or Alberta. I think Alberta would be the capital of country music there, either Edmonton or Calgary. But all of them would like to, in some way or another, live in Nashville, at least for a while or permanently. So, have you been there?
Yeah, so Nashville is definitely one of my favorite cities to visit. If I were to be able to have a second home, it would be somewhere in Tennessee between Nashville and the mountains in Gatlinburg. But I'll actually be going to Nashville again this summer. Looking forward to that to have a good time, but also to work hard and hopefully, do some photos, videos, whatever it may be for the artist up there. But yeah, definitely Nashville is a fun time to be a part of.
Mhm. So, do you do concert photography as well as wedding stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that's behind me are actually at concerts. I mean, a few of them have to do with some cover arts for their music, but most of them is done at at their concerts or at their shows. The bigger the concert, the better, because usually you're going to have the best lighting, you're going to have the best shots, you're going to have crowd shots, and it's just so fun to be able to do it when I can get a pass to some of the bigger concerts.
Mhm. So, I'm guessing most of the photos are used either for promotional material or EPKs, right?
Yeah, some of the artists will use either the video or the photography that I do for them for their EPKs. A lot of it's done for social media purposes. I had mentioned Kirsty Krause earlier, and I mentioned her specifically because she was one of the first ones to give me an opportunity to work with a music artist, and she's used stuff on her poster. She did a UK tour, and she used one of my pictures for that. A lot of the stuff that she'll do to promote her local gigs will have pictures that I took, and it's always great when I get to see my work out there. Like I said, I'm not charging. That's not the reward I'm looking for, but when I see them use it for their stuff, that makes me happy.
Certainly. What is an interesting aspect about wedding photography that most people do not know about?
Well, I mean, I think wedding photography in itself is a little difficult, especially if you're going to have a full day's worth. I mean, because you're taking one of the most important days in somebody's life and you're having to capture those moments, capture everything that's going on in a way that they're going to be happy about, for years to come. And so they're going to be usually a little bit more picky, a little bit more, wanting the best that they can do. And so those days are actually kind of long, but fortunately, I've been able to work with a company here in Florida that does a lot of elopement style weddings, where they're just like a 15-minute ceremony on the beach or where a park, wherever it is that they choose, and then I spend the remainder of the 45 minutes doing photos. And I love doing that because it's just an hour's worth of work. You get to talk and a little bit with the couple, but you're getting some of the best pictures there because of the scenic views out there on the beach or in the park. And I'll do that all day long if I could, with as opposed to the full 8 to 10 hour weddings that are a little bit stressful. But definitely love seeing some of the magic, so to speak, you can capture between a newlywed couple.
Mhm. I wonder if you consulted the person who took your own wedding photos, to the extent that you did have, your wedding photos taken in order for, I guess, experience and advice and so on.
Yeah, so I mean that's the one of the other reasons too, like I mentioned before, is kind of wanted to take my photography, to other people because we weren't actually happy with
Okay.
our wedding photos, and we're talking I just had my 26th anniversary, so we're talking 26 years ago.
Well,
So they didn't always have the technology, but at the same time I feel that we didn't get the personal service that I give to other people, and so that's why I tend to go above and beyond. But when you talk about did I consult with them, and obviously not directly, but the things that he did that I was not happy with, I make sure that my clients don't have to go through that same experience. I mean, I'm not saying he was all bad. We did get some nice photos, but at the end of the day, for what we paid then, you actually get a lot more from me and paying less in today's market. So.
I get it. Yeah. So 26 years ago, that would mean 1999.
Correct. I got married in 1999.
Let's see. Well, that is the year of my birth, actually.
Like I said, I'm a little bit older.
Yeah. My parents got married the year before, 1998, and of course, their product is sitting here talking to you right now. So what makes a good, yeah, what makes a good wedding photograph?
I think it just kind of depends. I've done different things. In some cases, it may just be a candid shot. Where you get something that was unexpected, and a lot of times too, it could be something that these people don't get to see each other, or I've even had people pass after the fact, and because I was capturing these candid shots, they're like, oh, this is great, we never, that was our last photo with this person or whatever it may be. But then you go to the other side of the spectrum where I've actually worked with um, uh, the brides who really want to go all out and glam, and they will take their time to get set up, obviously made up, and get perfect scenery. And I've done to where they're more like glamour photos than actual wedding photos, and they come out really nice too. So you got both ends of the spectrum. But all in all, like I said, it just comes back to document those life's moments, because they're going to look back at these things years from now, and they may not remember me, but they're going to remember the fact that they got this picture and it was so great, and it brings back all those good memories from that day, and that's what I want to be a part of.
Mhm. Yeah. I don't know to what extent you're familiar with, movie production, but I would picture, as someone who's, unmarried and unwed, and I've heard stories about people getting married, and I view that the preparation and the planning for the wedding resembles that of a small scale movie production in some ways, in that for the
It,
most
it
part,
it
yeah,
could
yeah.
it could depending on what you're looking for. Obviously, in general, weddings can be very high maintenance, and a
Hmm.
lot of planning goes into that. And then, especially if they want a videographer to capture that, to me, I think photography is a little bit easier to do for weddings, because you're just capturing the moments. And yeah, you got to make sure you get the right pictures done at the right time, but you can hit that button multiple times, and if two of the three pictures mess up, but you got that one good one, you're good to go. But the video, you need that flow. The video, you need those angles, and the lighting is totally different that you need for the video than that. So you take one production of putting together a wedding, and then the production of actually filming the wedding, and it does definitely become very complicated sometimes.
Of course. Yeah. So, continuing with the movie production analogy, so are you the director or do you follow directions from the happy couple?
It depends. I mean, every couple is different, and some people pretty much say, in a good way, because they just trust me. Hey, whatever you want to do, let's just do it. Sometimes it's because they don't know what they want, and I have to prompt them to do certain things. And then others will give me a list ahead of time of what they want. Sometimes, to me, that makes it easier for me. I just check off the list, and I know that I'm making them happy. So sometimes I am the director, and sometimes I'm the one being directed.
So I'm guessing that's the same with concert slash musical photography.
Yeah, I mean that also depends too. I mean, obviously, if they're on stage and I'm just capturing what's going on, then I don't think there's really any direction on either end. But sometimes ahead of time, people will say, "Hey, look, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. This is a particular song I'm going to sing. Can you capture this?" And I got to be ready to do that. And so sometimes I am taking direction, but I don't think I ever really direct anybody up on stage. It's their show. So, if we're doing a music video, that might be a little bit different. But yeah, it's their show, and I'm there to capture it.
All right. So when you interview these musicians, what are some of the things that you would like to know about them?
So, I definitely love interviewing the musicians, because growing up to where I was, we didn't have the ability to, see behind the record, see behind the song. We didn't really know what's going on. You had things like Entertainment Tonight and all these other gossip things that kind of showed, glimpses into these singers' lives, but you don't know how much of that was true, how much of that was for ratings. And I like to get personal with the artists that I talk with, find out, about their true likes, their dislikes, their history, that sort of thing. And sometimes those, questions end up leading to them becoming very vulnerable with me. And I've had interviews where people just kind of open up and talk about some trauma or talk about some great moments in their life that, that I feel that you have to be a good, I guess I don't want to say podcaster per se, but you have to develop that rapport with them because if you don't, they're not going to share those things. And I felt very honored in a lot of my interviews. Well, they do open up and they'll say, look, I've never talked about this before, and that's something great. So like I said, I just want to know about them personally. I want to be able to promote them. We play their music, but I definitely find out a lot of interesting stuff about the artist I interview.
Certainly. Yeah. So follow up on your answer. What do you think makes a good interviewer?
I think it's it kind of takes a little bit of practice to get the flow down. I know I struggled early on doing that, and sometimes people did not notice because I'm not necessarily a good speaker, so it took me a little while to keep that flow going. Fortunately, a lot of my podcast interviews are done recorded, so I can go back and edit it and make it smooth. But you really need to have that flow going. You want to be able to make sure that there's not dead silence. And I know I struggle with doing ums and uhs and that kind of stuff, so I kind of work on that as well. But I think for a good interview, you need to be able to tell the story, even if you're asking the questions. You need to bring that back into a story like format.
All right. And what are some of the things that surprised you during the interview process? Whichever interview you can think of.
As far as surprises, sometimes it's just like, a little bit of facts that I would never have gotten, anywhere else without interviewing. And it's not something like a big surprise per se, but just little things here like, oh, I didn't realize you were part of that or whatever. But I do find that when I do interviews as a whole, the kind of like the mentality that some of these singers have as far as like, how they feel they're being treated and how much they have to work for what little that they get. So like for instance, I'm going to say a streaming service, we'll say, will play, you can stream their music and you can do like a million streams from them. And I think it's something like you get 0.05 cents for every stream. So like you do a million streams and I think maybe they come out with a couple $100 or, that sort of thing. And that was surprising that they're not making a lot of money that way. And also I do feel like some of the female artists feel like that the industry still puts pressure on them that they have to prove something, that for some reason that the male artists have it easier out there. I mean, I don't know if that's perception or not, but that's definitely something I've seen as a trend with female artists, that they feel like they always have to try to prove themselves. And I thought that that was something that was interesting that I really did not know prior to interviewing.
I see. Yeah. Although I think the tide's been going or flowing in favor of the women artists in recent years.
Well, and that's what I would think too. Like I said, maybe I'm not to see it, and maybe it has to do with certain perception. But I think it just really depends. I think the females have a social media advantage to work that aspect. But I do hear their concerns when they talk about some of the big festivals, and
Mhm.
especially when it comes to country music. I can't speak for every genre, but that the headliners typically are males, unless they do an all female
Yeah,
concert, that they're usually having to battle against males as the headliners.
of course. Yeah. Yeah, I find that being a musician, particularly in this economy, is the least wise thing that you can do. So I would presume that all musicians, they get into the business for the love of music, really.
Yeah, just like I get into the business of photography because I like to do that. But you still have to make that money to be able to support what you're doing, and that's what musicians are doing. they get in for the love of the music, they get in for the love of the art, but at some point, love of doing it does not pay for the bills. And so they got to make sure that they have that business aspect as well. And it's definitely, struggling musicians are definitely real out there. And so I always tell people, hey, if you can ever get out there, be sure to tip them, be sure to buy their merchandise, because like I said, the streaming is just not what you think it is, and they're not really making much money off of that.
Of course. Yeah. And one thing I do find out too is that musicians are very busy people. Like they either are doing shows or they're going to a show.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'll always ask a question towards the end of my podcast a lot of times about, okay, if you're not doing music, what are you doing for fun? And their response usually is, they still are doing something music related, because they're either writing songs, they're either putting together things, they're practicing, or like you said, they're going out to see other people play as well. So they definitely stay busy, but occasionally they do have some personal time, and it's great to see when they get out and do some of that fun stuff.
Of course. So how did you manage your business during the pandemic years?
I was fortunate, actually, during the pandemic years. I think because of my model, like I said, I'm not going out there to make a living out of this, and so my rates are a lot lower. My thinking is a lot different. And during the pandemic years, everything was getting shut down. We were having venues being shut down. People weren't able to do their weddings. Some of them decided that they still wanted to be able to get married, and they went to the elopement style, and they were doing it outdoors because that's how you had to do the social distancing. And they couldn't find photographers that were willing to do that. And here I am. I wasn't too worried about a lot of the situations. I came in there following protocols, but went out there, and actually my business kind of really boomed during that time period, as far as making the money to be able to buy more equipment. From then, I was able to do better work, because you definitely need equipment to do good work, contrary to what some people say. But that kind of helped me out. And it was shortly after that is when I started reaching out to the musicians, when they were able to get back and play together. And now I had all the equipment ready to go. And I think for me, as far as my model, it worked out great.
All right. Yeah. So what do you do when you're not working?
So, I do spend a lot of time doing this, and I love going to different venues that that are having music. I definitely love music in all forms. So being out there and getting to be entertained is great. My wife and I, we like Disney. Being so close to Disney, we go there quite a bit. We just got back from New York a couple months ago, where we got to see about 3 or 4 Broadway shows when we were there. So we definitely take advantage of the arts and entertainment. But we still have kids that are home. One of them is playing travel softball. So that does take a lot of our time, a lot of our resources. And but that's how we're going to get to Nashville this year, because she's got a tournament in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I guess, away from there. So we're we're taking advantage of that, and moving over to Nashville for a full weekend. But definitely love to get out there. We love life. We love getting to do things outdoors, and we love entertainment. So, like I said, the shows, the music, everything.
All
Just
right.
take it all in.
Yeah. So I'd like to end on this note, which may be a bit off the deep end, but what gives your life meaning?
Yeah, so as a Christian, I think that there's two ways to answer this. You got to give back, because I'm here because God made me. And at some point you want to give back to what he did, using the resources that he gave you, and that's what's going to get the meaning, as a bigger meaning as a whole. but I think for me on a more personal level, just people remembering what I've done, whether it's hey, I was a good photographer, or I was a good father, or I was that, having that remembrance, and if people, obviously when I'm gone, I won't be able to hear it, but if some people give me some inkling now that hey, you're on the right track, that kind of brings some meaning into my life.
All right. Yeah. And I think on that wonderful note, thank you very much, Hank Jr. of Hank Jr. Productions, for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, and God bless.